there,
Hi.
and welcome to Paris Paranormal. We're glad that you're with us, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We've got a guest that we will be zooming in, and this is his very first Zoom ever, so we are so excited about that.
We're his first. T-shirt's coming.
Yes, exactly. And his name is Dewey Edwards. And you're going to want to hear everything that he's got to share with us. So, again, I'm Terry Keel. And
I'm April Wilson.
Yes, so welcome. And tonight's Paris Paranormal Enigmatic Experience contribution is going to be read. We've had a couple of people that we had reached out to and asked different folks to submit to us last time at our last couple of shows, and we've had a really great turnout of that. So we'll be sharing some experiences from our viewers, and we chose one from a woman who has had two experiences, so we're going to get into that in just a moment. But April, have you had any experiences this week? She has to think about that.
Let me think. Because I have some cool things that happen all the time. I can't think of anything offhand right now.
Okay.
The weather's changing, so
That's right.
That means, something good could come along.
Well,
Yeah,
we are so looking
and-
forward to next weekend, girl, because guess what we're all going to do?
We're going on an expedition.
That's right. If you want to be involved, let us know. Send us an email so we can reach out to you and give you all the stats about what we're doing. We're going to the LBL.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, it is. Oh, we weren't supposed to mention that?
We didn't say which day, what time, anything like that.
No, we didn't say anything about the time
And we
or the
actually
day.
might be filming from,
That's right.
yeah. So just stay tuned till next week.
That's right. And don't forget, send us an email if you want to hear from us, and you know how to do that.
Oh, and we have a new website that's coming soon, and it will have a form on it you can fill out.
If
with
you've had
information,
experiences,
if you've had any
right?
kind of crazy, bizarre story that you just can't explain.
And you want to share with us, and we may even talk about it. We won't mention your name or your address or any of that stuff.
Yes.
We might just say what city you live in, but that's about the end of it,
Yeah.
but no names. So we'll be sharing it and talking about it, because I think that's really what this is all about, is what's going on. What's happening with everybody. So without any further ado, I do want to read this gal that sent in her information, and
So this is someone who emailed.
this is an email that came in to us, right, from our
Okay.
reaching out to people.
Okay.
And she lives here in Henry County and actually lives in Paris. And there's two stories involved here that she shared with us. So let me just go ahead and read this to you. This is what she sent in. 30 years ago, I lived here in Paris and began having experiences in my 30s. You can do the math for the age that I am currently, but the important takeaway is that it's all still so very fresh in my mind. These types of experiences are very real to all experiencers. And here's her story. It was in the late 80s. I was early 30-ish. I wasn't feeling well and went to bed really early one night, leaving my husband and two young sons watching TV. I just got in bed and was not asleep yet, and I saw a figure about chest high and glowing in the bathroom doorway. That's something to see, huh? And it was shaped like a human but had no features. It was just a short human shaped glowing image. I felt my body being drawn to it like it had a magnetic force. I was lifted up off the bed and being pulled toward it. This sounds like a really powerful spiritual experience.
Goodness.
I was petrified. I couldn't move, but I resisted with all I had. I could hear my boys playing in the living room, and I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I was totally paralyzed. I have never been so scared before or ever since. Eventually, I was able to move and scream, but it was the last 30 seconds that I was in this state. I have been told it sounds like sleep paralysis. I have even wondered if I might have had a little fever because I wasn't feeling well. I was hypnotized once and had to relive it and was told it could have been the spirit of a grandparent.
Oh.
I don't think that would have been the spirit of a grandparent, not if she couldn't see the face, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was light.
It was light. It could have been. That never felt right, though, she says, because I was so scared. Yeah, you wouldn't be afraid of your grandparent, I don't think. If anyone else has had a similar experience and what they think it was, let me know. It still haunts me to this day, and I am 65 years old. So that's very interesting. It sounds to me, actually, like it was a spiritual experience, but maybe with a little bit of not demonic, but spiritual type of happening. The fact that it pulled her to it was interesting, because that's showing that she became out of body as this was pulling her spirit. It wouldn't have pulled her entire body, but it may have pulled her spirit. So that's what's showing me that's in the spiritual realm.
Right, but with it being light, that, light.
But that could be spiritual
I say light
as well.
is right.
Yeah, could be, yeah. Now she's also had, this is her second submission, I have also had multiple experiences of seeing shadowed movement in my peripheral vision. I have felt spirits of past loved ones as well. I felt my dad's hand on my shoulder right after he died, and I smelled my mother's perfume a few weeks after she died.
I've had that experience.
Yes, that's actually very, very common, especially after a loved one's death.
Yes.
There have been others too, but I won't mention them here. I just have an absolute knowing that it was them. And it always happens when I least expect it. Boy, isn't that the truth? That's kind of how it happens with me.
And you just know that your gut never
wrong. Misleads you.
Mm-mm.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Never.
I will get a particular person on my mind over the course of a day or two when I just think that something is going on with me. When I call to check on them, they are either going through a very hard time, they are sick, or I find out that they have recently died. And I'm wondering if I'm a little psychic. Well, I think that that's part of what we all feel, because I think we do really truly all have a sixth sense, but it's in atrophy in many, many people. We don't use that muscle, and so or like they say, the pineal gland can be calcified over, and we need to decalcify that. But there is a part of us that is definitely spiritual. We're spirit beings on a human journey. Here we are.
Yes.
We die, and what leaves? The spirit. So that's how we know we're spiritual beings. And that's the difference between being alive and dead. You either have the spirit in you or you don't, So it's really an interesting concept here. And I want to thank you for submitting this. You know who you are, and I am so happy that you've done that, along with the other submissions, and we're going to be reading those and getting to those. But what do you think?
About her?
About her.
I think she has a special gift, and I think that was probably her loved ones reaching out to her.
It could have been.
I'm very open-minded to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. She's open-minded to that.
Just saying, with my own experiences,
you never know.
I think light is always right.
It can be. Yeah, we've always had. Yeah.
Or you're thinking about a song and it comes on the radio.
Right.
I mean,
or a person, and all of a sudden they call. My mother and I used to do that all the time. I'd be thinking about my mom, and the phone would ring, and it'd be her, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you."
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we all do have some form of connection. If it's small or great, it's just matters on how we're tuned in.
Yeah, if you just pay attention to it.
Yes.
I mean, that little, in your mind's eye, say something, And you're just like, oh gosh.
And you know how she mentioned that peripheral view thing where you can see something? I
Yes.
have had this little dog that I keep seeing, and there's probably been about 15 friends who have stayed at my house over the years.
I saw it one day in the kitchen.
And some people just see this
I
little
was like-
animal. Well, the thing that is so crazy is, I pin my little chihuahuas, Lovey and Tucker, up at night so that they feel very safe. They've always been pinned, and they love that. They have their little blankets and toys and little snacks in there for them. But recently, there have been, and there's no way for them to do this. I'll put them in the pen, lock the pen, and then there's a little bowl with their little snacks. The snacks are outside of the pen about a foot away from the cage that they're actually in. Now, how does that happen? And I'm telling you, that is crazy. I know it's not mice, we don't have any. And I know that there's no other way for that to happen. But, it's just crazy how that happens. And they're all just lined up there. All their little treats are outside. And I'm wondering, what is that all about, But anyway, I'll just throw that out there to share.
Maybe you need to put a camera in there.
I think we do need to have a camera.
Kevin needs something else to do. He can do that.
Yeah, he needs one more job.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, and guess what? Speaking of Kevin,
Today's
it's his birthday. So I know it. Should we sing to him? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Kevin. Happy birthday to you.
And that was not planned.
Thank you. That's a copyright infringement.
No, it's good. Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, so now let's talk about our guest. This man is amazing, and I can't wait to get him on.
All right. So we have with us tonight Dewey Edwards, born and raised in Robertson County, Tennessee, which is Springfield, Tennessee. He's been married to his childhood sweetheart, Dolores, for 52 years. Kudos to y'all.
Good going.
Has 3 daughters, 5 grandchildren. He's a paranormal investigator and the founder of Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. He's a researcher and author of 10 books. And of those 10 books, it's Execution of Murder, Lights Out, Trials and Tribulations, Vigilante Justice, A Ridge Too Far, Something Wicked, Ghostly Whispers, Season of the Critters, Eye in the Sky, and he's got 12 O'Clock High that's in process right now. And he also has ghostwritten and published 3 other books as well. His hobbies are ghost hunting, cryptid, handguns, paranormal research and investigations, fishing, old cemetery documentation and restoration.
Genealogy, too.
Yes, writing historical newspaper and magazine articles, and we'll just give you a little. He's working on a documentary with Small Town Monsters.
Woohoo! Welcome. We're so glad you're here, Dewey.
And
Glad to be here.
And I think all your friends call you the Dudester.
Right.
The Dewster.
The Dudester.
Oh, can we call you the Dewster?
Yeah, you sure can. That was given to me by my good friends Joe and Jesse of Hellbent Holler.
Oh, I love
They're the ones that
them.
get to pin that name on me.
I love to watch their show.
They also call me the Wizard of Soggy Bottom.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness, those soggy
You got all
bottom.
kinds of
Oh,
cool
I love
names.
it. I love it. Well, I want to ask one first question. How did you ever get involved in the paranormal?
Well, I had my first paranormal experience when I was 6 years old. My uncle had passed away. He got killed on a tractor accident. And Mama had put his clothes and everything up in the closet. And he always wore this old, just an old gray felt hat. And So one day, one of my cousins come over. They were going to help get the tobacco crop in, and he didn't bring a hat with him. And the sun was pretty hot that day. So Mama tells me, said, go up to the house and get Pete to get Uncle John's cap for him, let him wear it. So I hightail it up to the house, go in, open my door, walk in, open my closet door, reach in for the hat, and the door slams right in my face.
Ooh.
Closet door does. So I thought, well, the wind must have got it because there wasn't any wind blowing. So I open the door back up and reach in for the hat again, and it slams, hard. If my arm had been in there, I guess it might have broke it. But anyway, I remember running back down to the field and telling Mama, says, if Pete wants the hat, let him go get his own. But that was my first experience. Now, when I was 11 years old, we rented a lot of houses when I was growing up. We moved fairly often. His daddy moved around with his jobs, and I was laying in bed one night. Me and my brother both we shared the back bedroom in the house, and something woke me up. And I just happened to look up, and there's this image of this young girl, standing there by the doorway, and into our room, and she's got she's just like a smoky outline. You can see her, you can make out what it is. Her hair is blowing in the wind. Her gown that she's wearing is blowing in the wind. And there's curtains on a window that's standing open, and they're blowing in the wind too. The bad part is there wasn't even a window there in the house. It was not even the window was a ghost.
Oh, wow.
So I finally got my.
So you were seeing like a vision.
My heart swallowed back down where I could talk, And we finally tried to get Daddy awake, and he come back there, Of course, it was gone by then. And he said, well, it was just your sister, Well, it wasn't my sister. My sister was fairly heavy set, and she is short, and this girl was kind of tall and slender. And so we went back to bed and went to sleep. Next day or two, the landlord came down to check on his cattle there on the farm, and we just happened to walk down there, And Daddy wanted to get to the bottom of this, so we walked down there, and he asked him, says, "Did anything ever happen in that house?" He said, "Well," says, when I was a child, that house caught on fire. He says, "There's an old brick cistern out front that I helped draw water out of to put the fire out." He says, "They wouldn't let me in the house when it was burning, but I got to draw the water out of the cistern." So, he says, we finally got the fire put out. He says, and my aunt, she died in the fire. She burned up in the house.
Oh.
And it was the back part of the house that was burnt off, and they had rebuilt it. So evidently there must have been a window there at one time, So I don't know if it was a residual or what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I had talked to several people that had lived there before us and after us, and nobody else had seen anything. I don't know if we were just there on the anniversary of when it happened, or what triggered it, But that was one of my first seeing a full body apparition, and it's been going ever since.
Right.
But you were very open at that age too.
I don't know.
At 11.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when you're young like that, you don't even know to be open, but you are open.
Right.
But it does sound
Right.
like you were getting some type of a residual or reoccurring loop of what had
Right.
happened, right? So yeah, that's very interesting. I've actually had those things happen in my life, and it's very strange. Actually saw
it
a
is.
doppelganger in one of those loops, which is really weird. And it was of Kevin, no less, so it was very strange.
Right.
So what personal experiences other than that have you had?
Oh, in 1970, I had a friend. He had muscular dystrophy, and he spent probably the last 10 or 12 years of his life in a wheelchair. And he was a CB radio nut, I guess you'd call it. They had modified his radio to where he could use his hands were all gnarled up, and fingers were all twisted, and they modified his radio to where he could key the mic with it, and also put T-handles on his volume and the squelch knobs, where he could bump it with his hand, to move. But anyway, of course, I'd known his family all my life. I never had dealt with him too much.
Do you know him?
Well, we got into CB radios, and we got to talking to him every day, And so anyway, they called me one night at work and says, if you want to see Bubba alive, you need to come down here to the hospital right now. So he's not going to be here much longer. So I left work and
Oh.
went to the hospital. In fact, I was holding his hands when he passed away.
Oh dear.
And so anyway, the wheelchair was the problem. Uh, the day or two after the funeral, the his daddy and mother brought the wheelchair down to the house in their old station wagon, and asked Daddy if we had anywhere to put it. And we had a couple of outbuildings and all. And said, I'd like to put it up, but I don't want it to get abused or weathered or whatever. So Daddy said, well, we've got an unused room upstairs. We can put it upstairs. So they put the wheelchair upstairs, and they hung around a little while and talked a little bit, and then maybe had 3 cups of coffee, and then they left. So that night, I went to bed as normal, or bedroom. I shared the same bedroom with my 2 brothers. I had one bed at one end of the room, and they had bunk beds at the other. So I'm there in bed, just had got to sleep, and all of a sudden, the bedroom door flew wide open. This cold. Now this is in the summer. Cold breeze come through. I mean, it was cold.
Wow.
And something was standing there beside my bed. I could hear it walk across the floor, and it stood there beside my bed.
Ooh.
And it just stood there for a minute. I could hear it breathing. I mean, it was breathing loud, And my heart got up in my throat. I couldn't hardly breathe. It terrified me. I'm not lying. It terrified me. So anyway, it turned around and sat down on my bed.
Oh wow.
And the side of my bed you could see the impression of somebody there.
Yikes.
I looked, and there was nobody there,
Yeah.
So I thought, well, surely it's not my brother. He used to sleepwalk quite a bit. So I took my foot and kind of kicked over there, where the impression was, and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
So it sat there a few minutes, and it finally got up and walked over to where my brothers and my 2 brothers were sleeping in the bunk beds. My little brother was on top. My younger brother was on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a ladder at the foot of the bed that went up where my little brother could get up on the top bunk. And it was just a little ways from the door that went upstairs to where this wheelchair was at. So it sat on his bed, and I heard my brother over there whimpering. He was trying to cry, but he just couldn't get out, but a whimper is all he could get. So anyway, this thing stood there a few minutes with him, and then it moved toward the door, and it bumped into the ladder that went upstairs went up to the upper bunk, and knocked it down. It hit the floor.
Oh my
It
goodness.
went over and was scratching on this upstairs door like a cat or something. It was just the most terrible sound you'd ever heard in your life. So anyway, that's when I finally found my voice and got to screaming, and woke my parents up. My daddy come in, wondering what was going on, so we told him, and Daddy was a minister. He preached the gospel quite a bit and everything, but he had seen some things in his life when he was younger. So he knew there was such thing as a ghost. But anyway,
Yes.
the next morning, the neighbor right down the road from us, he kept his horses and cattle, a couple of mules up there in the barn beside our house. He walked up there every morning to feed them, check on them and feed them. And Daddy met him out there and asked him, told him what went on. And he said, I tell you what you do. He says, I believe you. He says, I tell you what you do. You leave that upstairs door open. If you have to block it open or prop it open or whatever you got to do, block that door open where he can get upstairs. That boy's spirit's trying to find a wheelchair. That's all he's known. He's attached to it. And he says, if you don't, it'll haunt you the rest of your life. Just let him find that wheelchair. So sure enough, next night, basically the same thing happened. We blocked the door open. Daddy took an old broom handle, or the extra broom actually, and just pushed up against the door to hold the door open. And we went back, and I was kind of reluctant about going back in the room and going to sleep, but I did. And the same thing happened. The door flew open. Cold breeze come through. It's like you'd open a refrigerator door or something. It was cold. And it walked over to my bed, and it didn't do anything. It just stood there. I could hear it breathing, and like it mentally, I think it was telling me goodbye. That's the impression I got. But anyway, it walked down to my brother's bed and did it the same way. Stood there a few minutes, and it walked by the ladder again, but it just bumped it, but it didn't knock it down. So it went over to the door, and the broom fell away from the door. The door closed behind it, and you could hear the footsteps go up into the attic.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And after that, when I remember jumping up and going over, the door had I guess a knob you just latch over, you turn over, latch the door shut. And I remember getting up and latching that door and went back and got back in bed and covered my head up. And,
Wow. Yeah,
we
that
never
would
was
be
followed
something to
after
be
that.
afraid of for
Right.
sure. How old were you at that time?
Oh, I would have been about 18.
Oh my goodness. Can you
Just told my
imagine
age,
that
didn't I?
happening
I just told
to
my
you?
age, didn't I?
And so after that, was he no more of that?
Right, no more of that. Now, as far as seeing that, now,
Well, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like he was thankful.
yeah. The only part I can remember else that happened after that was the wheelchair. My mother and them moved a couple, 3 times after that, and they always took the wheelchair with them and put it up like they promised them,
Yeah.
and it did take care of it. And so one day, my nephew, one of his friends, and my little brother got the wheelchair out.
Oh,
And we're
goodness.
pushing each other around in the yard with it, all that kind of stuff. Every one of them had identical nightmares that
Oh,
night
wow.
about him chasing them. He was in a wheelchair and he was chasing them, trying to catch them. But all
Oh,
3 of them had
interesting.
identical nightmares.
Wow.
Isn't it
And the last-
amazing what can happen,
The last time I saw the wheelchair was after Daddy passed away. My mother sold the house I lived in, and it was still in the back building. So I hadn't had the guts to go back and look and see if it's still there or not.
Like a
I really don't care, really.
haunted wheelchair.
Yeah.
We were talking about that haunted chair at the Bell Witch, the Bell Witch haunted chair. I don't know if you know about that, Deuster, but that's something that's really crazy. Have you been over there to the?
Yeah.
I think it was the school, and they had the Buzzard Creek Antique store there, where they have the John Bell haunted chair. Yeah.
Now, there was a chair back years ago that was there was a little antique store between Springfield and Cedar Hill, which is real close to Adams. And
Yeah.
a friend of mine, her mother ran the little antique store. Supposedly somebody stopped and wanted to sit in a chair and meditate. And they meditated, and whatever it was, something told her to go to the directions how to get to something. But there was an old, either a wash tub or a metal pot or something there in the edge of a field. Told her to go to that and turn it over, and there was some money hid under it.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness
And-
gracious!
and that's the only thing I've heard about a chair.
We need a chair like that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
A thinking chair. Did they find the money?
I reckon they did. It
Oh,
wasn't very
wow.
much, but it was enough to let them know that they had found something.
So I feel like you've had this gift, and it's gone through your whole family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not just been you; it's been your brothers and
Yeah.
parents.
It's a family affair.
Yeah.
My wife says it's not really a gift; it's more of a curse.
Well, it can
You
be
can look
that
at
way.
Different
My wife
ways.
has this gift, I guess, of you want to call it that, of having these dreams and they're coming true.
Oh, yeah.
She dreamed about her mother passing away. She dreamed about my brother passing away and described it in, great detail.
Wow.
And it actually happened that way, and
That's interesting.
Yeah, that
she
would
has
be.
dreams. I kind of
That'd be
I kind
creepy.
of take them to heart. She dreamed one time that I had backed over my youngest granddaughter with a pickup truck.
Oh dear.
To this day, I will not. That was years ago. To this day, I will not move my truck unless I know where she's at.
Well, see,
That's
that
good
was
for
a
you.
gift.
That was a premonition that could have happened.
Yes.
So that
had
was a gift.
Yeah, that is a gift. Yeah, and that's frightening because boy, that I've heard has happened more than
Oh,
we
yeah.
care
Oh,
to
yeah.
admit it's happened.
So, let's talk about cryptids. I love cryptids.
The only cryptid I have personally seen is a big black, I guess you'd call it a panther. TWRA says they don't exist, but I've got a video and I've got pictures from a friend of mine and one of my neighbors that proves otherwise.
Well,
Oh.
I found out last night that it's a fact
Yeah.
that Black Panthers were released by someone, and I can tell you off air, into LBL several years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
doubt it.
that's true.
Yes, and it appears that a black panther was seen in Adams, Tennessee as well,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
by the
yeah.
Bell Witch Cemetery where John is and the family.
Right.
Yeah,
I
somebody
was
said-
there. I was there about 2 weeks ago. I took
Oh.
a friend of mine, Elijah Henderson. With
Oh, we
cryptid,
love Elijah. He was
know,
on
We
our
had
Elijah-
Elijah
I took
on
Elijah-
last week.
Yeah, last
I
week.
took Elijah and Gabby to the John Bell Cemetery.
Oh, how nice.
It's on a private property.
Uh-huh.
It's owned by, I guess, the Bell Trust, I guess they call it.
Right.
And I just happen to have several connections that are on the board. And all I got to do is call one of them up and let them know I'm going back there, and
Right.
they've got trail cams up that automatically trigger his cell phone, if there's somebody, goes back there.
Oh,
And so I was kind of,
I can understand
I always
why.
Better
no
keep
problem
you
with
out
that.
of there then.
Don't
But
worry.
we had a great time. We went back to the John Bell Cemetery. Of course, right down below their stones, back in the woods a little further, is the old. I guess it's probably the old slave cemetery. I guess there's nothing but field rocks, but
Yeah.
there's hundreds of graves back in the woods,
Oh,
just
wow.
field rocks sticking up. And
Wow.
then across the field from that was where the old John Bell house was at. We went over to it. We
Right.
went to the well is still there. In fact, Elijah was bent over looking down in it with a flashlight and
Right.
Lost
dropped
his sunglasses.
I know. We heard about that. Oh my goodness. How
I
Then
sad.
we went to the John Bell Jr. grave, which is just right across the field from that one, and we walked out into the soybeans a little further than I probably needed to. Probably, I've had both knees replaced, and they're not fully up to speed like they should be. I can get around good and everything, but walking in those knee-deep soybeans, having to pick my feet up high, it wore me out.
Oh,
bet.
I bet.
But yeah, we had a good time. We went around, and I wanted to go back to the old John Johnston place, and but they had changed the lock and had a new gate put up, so I didn't get to go back in there with them. But we made my cousin owns the old Kate Batts property where the house used to be, and they weren't home that day. We wanted to go by there, and wanted to see the old well that was up there. But I've got plans to go back in there this winter, and I want to go through the woods and see if I can't find just douse the whole property and see if I can't find a grave. See if I can find where they're
Don't take a rock.
Yeah, don't take
what?
anything.
Don't take a rock.
Oh no. My theory on that, I've had 2 people call me. One of them was from Florida. One of them was from I want to think she was from Georgia. They called me and wanted some help, and in fact she kept sending text messages on my phone that I need your help, And I thought, who is that? I didn't recognize the name, and so finally I got the nerve up to call, and she told me her name. She had lived in Adams. She had went to the Bell Witch Cave. They had told her, don't take anything out of here.
Uh-oh, and she did.
And well, she did. She picked up a rock, put it in her
Oh,
pocket,
boy.
at home, took it home with her. And she says from that moment, her life just went all to
Oh, yeah.
heck.
Oh, my goodness.
She lost her job. She lost her house. She lost her car.
Oh, my
Ended up moving in-
heavens.
Oh, yeah.
Ended up
Yikes.
moving in with her
It's horrible.
with her sister
You don't
in
take
Florida.
a rock.
Yeah, don't take a rock.
Yeah. In fact, it probably wouldn't hurt to check, make sure you ain't got a little small pebble stuck in the sole of your shoe. Stuff.
Exactly.
But anyway,
Good grief.
she moved in with her sister, and such things started happening down there in Florida too. Said the air conditioner went out, and they got a tech over there to work on it, and he said he went up to the door and walked and opened the door and was gonna go in, and said he come running back in. Said, there's something in there. I can't go in there.
Oh,
I can't
dear.
do it. And he left, and they couldn't get nobody to go in and work on this thing.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
But she says, what do I need to do? And I said, well, try to get the rock back to the cave, and I've looked up the address and gave her the address, to get the rock back. And I also looked up and found a paranormal group that was down there close to her town she was in, and talked to them, and they were gonna go over and see if they couldn't figure out something, and maybe bless the house or whatever, But last time I talked to her, everything was back to normal. She sent the rock back. Everything was back up to normal and everything.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
I had one that wanted to mail the rock back to me, and I said, no. I don't want it. But it was, both of them was mostly the same situation. They had lost everything they'd had, And even a friend of mine, he's the curator of the Adams Museum there.
Oh, what's his name? Is that Greg?
Tim Henson.
Oh, Tim. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Henson, and he's having some foot surgery. So if you don't mind, keep him in your prayers too. He's a real good friend of mine, and he's having some trouble out of his feet. But anyway, he had the same thing happen to him. He worked at the water plant right down below the cave, and he said this guy come pulling in one morning and seen him sitting up there at the cave by the gate. And he sat up there for a good while, and I reckon he happened to see Tim out there at the water plant, and said he come flying down there and slid in the parking lot, jumped out, and says, "What time's the cave open?" And well, I don't know. So they just open when they want to. Back then, they didn't do any set hours. If you wanted to tour the cave, you just called them and arranged it. So anyway, he told him the same story. He took a rock, and everything went all to heck with him, So
Well, we've heard that more than once, that those
and
rocks.
he finally met the
They'll
guy that
get
owns
ya.
the cave. Yeah, up there at the gate, and give the rock to him.
Well, they tell you, because I've been on the tour there, and they're like, do not take a rock. People mail them back every week. And I was like, don't nobody take a rock around here.
My theory on that is the Bell Witch Cave it's named the Bell Witch Cave. It's not haunted by the Bell Witch. It is beneath an Native American burial ground.
Yes.
Yes.
And
That's
it's a
what I
portal,
said.
a vortex. And anything you take out of that cave, you're taking part of that portal home with you, which would let anything in that portal come into you, come into your life. So that's my theory on that.
I don't think a lot of people realize that when they take things, this is a part of how it should be, and you're actually, interacting negatively by taking something that does not belong to you. Leave things alone. Leave things
Especially
there.
Native American
Yes,
stuff.
especially. We should show honor, definitely. Well, golly, this has been really interesting, all these different experiences that you've had.
I know you have some kind of really amazing story.
In fact, the first cryptid ever recorded as being seen in Robertson County was on the John Bell farm.
Oh, wow. On the John Bell farm.
Where he saw
Elijah
the dog
told that
with the rabbit
story.
head.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Saw the giant buzzard, the giant bird,
Yes.
Elijah's documentary, he talked about that, I think.
Is that why they call that the Buzzard Creek Antiques?
very well
Because of
be.
the buzzard? Oh, Lord, that's so neat.
There's probably some caves
so
along
much
somewhere
history.
there. Probably the buzzards
Yes.
probably roost in would be my guess.
Yes.
We
Okay.
lived on the edge of Sulphur Fork, and there was actually a cave called Buzzard Cave. It was up
there you
high
go.
on the bank,
Buzzard Creek.
and buzzards actually roosted in the cave all the time. So we never went in it because the buzzard trap was everywhere. So you couldn't even get close to the cave. So
Yeah.
we never went in it. But
And those
Good thing I
cave
didn't, I guess.
systems are everywhere through there.
oh yeah.
They run all the way up to Ohio.
Just talking about the dreams earlier. It's been maybe a couple of years ago. I had a dream about she used to be our neighbor. She's a family friend, and I'd known her about all my life. And I hadn't thought about her in years and years. And she in a dream one night. I dreamed about her, and I thought that's kind of odd. So I just think much about it. I got up that next morning, she was kind of on my mind, and I just happened to open up my Facebook page and saw where she had passed away that night.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that is odd.
That is odd.
That I wouldn't, So if I dream about somebody I haven't thought of in a long time, I usually check on them the next morning or whatever, make
Yeah.
sure they're okay, But
That is interesting. I have had that happen to me, and I had an experience where I opened the paper, and there I saw that the person had passed away, and actually heard them say to me, "Everything is okay," because I was so shocked.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really strange what can happen in the spiritual realm. We never really
Yeah.
know what. Yeah.
If you just pay attention,
If you pay attention
Yeah.
and listen, if you listen,
just be very aware.
Right.
Right. Well, tell us about this new documentary that you're doing. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Captain Thomas Mantell. He was actually a lieutenant during the World War II. He flew on the Normandy invasion, D-Day,
Right.
pulling a glider. He pulled a glider, and they shot his plane. He's in I think of C-47. I think that's what it was. Anyway, I have to look it back up to see. But anyway, he was towing a glider, and they shot his plane all to pieces.
Who are they?
Almost took one wing off of it and broke the tail section off. I think it even broke the control cables. They go back to the rear section of the plane where you had no control over, the rear rudders or aileron, whatever they call them. But anyway, he finally got back. When he finally got back to base, they looked at his plane and said, "There's no way you flew that plane back in here." And he brought it in actually down a runway that had planes parked on either side of the runway, and he could have easily veered off either way and hit any of them, So he was
Who
able to
are
keep under
they?
control.
You said they shot the.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess the Normandy invasion would that have been Germany?
Germany.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, Germany. Okay.
Germany. I had to
okay.
think back to that. Yeah.
Okay.
I hated history when I was in school, but I love it now. Anyway, he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, and this guy was only 25 years old.
Good grief.
No, he's young. Yeah, he's young. He loved flying from the day he was born, the way I understand.
Wow.
He was born in Franklin, Kentucky, which is only
Okay.
about 12 miles from where I live.
Uh-huh.
And ironically, it's where he crashed his plane in Franklin, Kentucky. He didn't actually live there. His parents were visiting friends. They lived between Bowling Green and Franklin.
Yeah.
They were visiting friends. She went into labor, and he took her to the nearest hospital, which was in Franklin, Kentucky. And that's where he was born. But anyway, they were. He got out of the. He got out of the service, and he loved flying. He opened his own flight school, and ended up joining the Kentucky National Guard, Air National Guard. When they were created. And he went in as a captain, and his job was to train people to fly the P-51 Mustang, which is one of the best planes ever built. I
Yeah,
think.
wonderful
But
plane.
anyways, So anyway, they were flying a ferry mission. Some 4 planes had got left in Marietta, Georgia, and they loaded up a C-47 with a few mechanics, 4 pilots, including Captain Mantell, and a service team and a few engineers and all, and flew down to Marietta to retrieve those planes and bring them back to Stanford Field in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. So anyway, they got down there and got their planes all checked and everything and flying back. And they were on their way back when they get this call from Godman Field at Fort Knox saying they have seen a UFO.
Oh dear.
This UFO had been seen over several states,
That's right.
and so anyway, they sent him to go check it out. Well, one of his wingmen didn't have enough fuel, so he went back to base. The other 2 they went with him, Hammond and I have to think of the guy's name in just a minute. That's so many names in my mind. It's pitiful. Anyway, Mantell and his two wingmen went after this thing. Now, one of the planes was equipped with oxygen, and the other two weren't. Other three weren't. So, anyway, the wingman, they went, and then Mantell just took off after him. I mean, he had the fastest plane, evidently. And so he went off and almost left them just about. But anyway, they're chasing this thing. He says that from the radio transmissions I've heard about, he said that it was 12 o'clock high. That's where I got the name of my book, 12 o'clock high.
Oh, there you
It was
go.
12 o'clock high, and it was large metallic object.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, he says that he sees observation windows in this thing.
Oh, nice.
One of the reports said he actually saw people in it.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's
And,
right.
But anyway, then the next thing we know, he's crashed. There's several things. They say the plane. The story goes the plane exploded. Every newspaper article you read says the plane exploded. The plane did not explode. There was an explosion of sound heard, and it was caused by one of two things. When he went up to 30,000 feet without oxygen, blacked out. That's what they're saying. He blacked out. And when he slumped forward, he leaned forward on the controls, which would put the plane in a deep dive.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm.
Throttle is wide open. He's in a deep dive coming down. I'm thinking he hit Mach 1, broke the sound barrier, and the sound they heard was a sonic boom.
There you go.
Another theory of mine, which is probably the most plausible, I guess you'd say, would be the engine blew up. He's coming down wide open. This he had a Rolls-Royce Packard engine in this thing.
Wow, that's a good engine.
V12. And it was rated for 3,000 RPM. He's coming down from 30,000 feet, wide open. The plane over revs itself and blows up. The engine locked up on it. It's the sound I think people heard. And I can verify that's probably what happened because of the when it landed, when it crash landed, it didn't come in. This engine weighs 1,600 and something pounds, over half what the plane weighs. On the very front of the engine. All right, if it's going to come down, crash, normally it's going to hit propeller first.
Right.
Because all the weight's in front. The tail section broke off the plane. One of the wings broke off on the way down, and this thing, and even one of the investigators says that this plane belly flopped. It didn't come in and cut a rut in the ground. It come in like level, and then it went sit straight down.
Oh,
And in fact, one of the
terrible way to
eyewitnesses that saw the crash said that's what he called it. Says he saw the plane when it done this number. He done like this. He done like this.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
And the propeller, one blade was standing up at 12 o'clock, just like it was at attention. The other two blades, it would have been like 3 and 9 o'clock, were broke off, and they couldn't find the one that would have been at 6 o'clock. They couldn't
Right.
find that one.
Right.
So when they lifted the plane up to load up on the truck after the crew got there to recover the plane, they found the 6 o'clock, you might say, propeller blade. It was in the ground, still attached to the propeller, just like the one at 12 o'clock position was. It buried down 6 feet in the ground.
Good grief.
When they lifted the plane up, it come up with it. It was still attached.
Oh my goodness.
So that tells me right there,
It went-
this plane,
It went
this
straight
engine
down. Yeah.
was not running when that plane crashed because it would have broke all the blades off.
Right.
yeah.
Been the first thing to have
Exactly.
hit,
Shut down. Right.
It was just aluminum, but I've been to the crash site. It was very emotional for me. And every time you write about something like this, when you study his life,
Right.
I've got
right.
every picture I can find, every newspaper article, every report. Birth certificates, death certificates.
Right.
Did his family genealogy.
Right.
Who his grandparents were and things like that. you get attached to them. You know, they become part of you. You know, so
Sure.
it was emotional for me. I talked to the lady that owns the property. She did not want to start with. She didn't want us to do a documentary there as far as at the crash site.
Right.
She said she wanted it to let it go. You know.
Sure.
I said, no, that's what's wrong with the country now. They're letting too much stuff go. We've
Right.
got too much history erased right now.
Right.
I said, you know, we just need this. This guy was a true American hero, you know.
Yes, he
Yes.
certainly
His
was.
story needs to be told.
He
That's
doesn't
was the
need to be
first-
forgotten.
He was
Right.
the first person
That's
to lose
right.
his life in pursuit of a UFO, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what year was
And it-
that?
1948, January
48.
7th, 1948.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen that
And every year-
documentary.
Yeah.
Every year in Franklin, Kentucky is going to be Captain Thomas Mantell Day.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went
That's a good
to
thing.
I went to the first one, which was a few days after that. I got to meet his grandsons, Terry and Eric. Eric was there on Zoom. He's a school teacher down in Georgia. He couldn't come up, but I met his other grandson Terry, and we just hit it right off. You know, we talked back and Seth has already done their pre-interview and everything with them for this documentary.
Yeah.
And he told me to when I come up to do mine to be prepared to sit for several hours, you know,
Right.
depth, you know. But I mean, I've got all the reports, everything you can actually
Oh my
think
goodness.
of just about with this, you know.
Yes.
And my book has a bunch of pictures in it, you know, and
Yes.
I could have probably went on and got over 500 pages probably, you know, but you get to the point to where
Wow.
people are going to get bored with it if you put too much in there, you know. There can always be a volume 2. You know?
That's right. There can always be.
There you go. There you go.
Well,
But I talked to Seth at Monster Fest. I've been talking to him a little bit, you know, on and off about it. You know, he said it was something he had considered doing. And then I gave him my other book, Eye in the Sky.
right.
The first part of it is dedicated. The first half of Eye in the Sky is dedicated to Captain Mantell,
Oh, that's
Okay.
wonderful.
and it's the whole thing. And you know, but then it just kind of this other book just kind of branched out. I thought, you know, there's a lot more I can do about this, you know. So I went to the History Center in Franklin, and they've got a big thick file. I've been going up there about every week just about doing research, you know, making notes, making copies, and making pictures. And I talked to the guy that runs it, and he said, you know, we can copy these for you if you want us to, you know. He says it won't cost you but a dime a copy.
Oh,
Or
that's
we
nice.
can or we can scan them for you and it won't cost you anything.
oh, that's even
So
better.
they scanned they scanned the whole complete file, put it on a jump drive.
Yeah.
So I've got access to my computer right now to any of those files that's up there now.
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
good. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
They've got a small piece of the plane up there. It's about a 6x6 square. And I got to kind of wondering if it was. I'd heard these reports about it being radioactive.
Oh, that's a
And,
possibility. Yeah.
So anyway, I took my Geiger counter up there and I checked it, and I was getting maybe 2, 3, 4 counts per minute. You know, just baseline. So I walked over to the display case. This thing is in. I can only get about a foot away from it, you know, because it's in the display case. And the guy that actually is over the History Center, he wasn't there at the time, so I didn't want to bug the other girl there to open the display case for me, if she even would. But I just put the Geiger counter up against the glass and flipped it there just a minute. And I hit 68 counts per minute.
Oh my
Which
goodness.
50 is,
Yeah.
below 50 is nothing to really be concerned with, but over 50, it's something
Yes,
that you might
it's
want
dangerous.
to keep an eye on.
Yeah, you want to
And
back
that was
away.
just over just a very few minutes. I don't
That's
know how
right.
high it would have climbed if I'd have waited very long.
Well,
But I went out to the crash site after that, and I was hitting several little areas, you know, 40 and 50, you know, but nothing above that, you know. But
well, anytime there's a UFO involved, there is going to be radiation and things like that that could be at dangerous levels. So people
Right,
do need to
right.
be careful and be aware. Well, we are just up at our 7 o'clock hour here, so Did you have any follow-up questions at all?
I
or-
just want to know if we need to if we want to have you back, will you come back?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely. And where? Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead.
We're just thinking the same thing, weren't we?
We
Where
are.
are your books available?
They're on Amazon.
Okay.
I also have them at my house. So if somebody wants to get a signed copy, they can message me on Facebook or whatever, and I can get them a copy to them.
Okay.
I do direct shipment here from the house too. There's also a little restaurant in Adams called Moss's Restaurant.
Oh.
If you haven't eaten there, I recommend it. She does great cooking, but she sells my books there too.
Is it in the old school?
Yes. it's an
I
old
have
school.
ate there, and they have
I've
the
been
best
there.
pie.
Yes. We have eaten there. That is so interesting. I am so
Right.
excited. We'll be back.
It's a small world.
But I did want to say that we're going to be doing EnigmaCon March 8th, 9th, and 10th. And if you want to get a vendor table and come on out and sell your books there and share with everybody about EnigmaCon that you know, because we'll be doing that next year, 2024. Wow, it's
Just a few
almost
months.
there. Yeah, just a few
I
months.
will mark my calendar. We're
5
also
months.
Yes.
we're also having the Adams Fall Festival is going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the 27th and 28th I'll be there with my books.
Okay.
It's at the Old Bell School, and hopefully it's going to be inside the gymnasium. I'm hoping. It all depends on the weather, I guess.
Okay.
But it's like I said, it's 27th and 28th.
Okay.
Of course, I'm going to be at the Tennessee Wildman Conference in Montgomery Bell State Park. That'll be the 14th and 15th, weekend after next. And I don't have a vendor table. I waited too late and they'd already sold out of vendor tables. So
Well, you
I'm gonna
can
have a
get
few
one
with me
for
in my car.
EnigmaCon.
I'm gonna probably bootleg a few of them out of my car.
We will make sure that you get a table.
That's right. We will make sure. So, and I do have, this is kind of a weird shout out, but you know, I went to Cato this week and bought this cool shirt. And I told all the girls are going to be watching tonight, Dewey, so I told them I would do a shout out to Robin and the gang that she works with about buying
go.
my uniform here for my black and white. So thank you, Robin. She's an excellent gal that works there at Cato's. And they'll be watching you tonight. I told them all about it. And stay tuned because we also have a website coming soon for forms that our viewers can fill out with any of their sightings or experiences for us to share here at Paris Paranormal. So, and I keep losing my little thing here. It just keeps falling right out of my ear.
I was talking to one of my neighbors. I met him up at a little restaurant the other day. We just stopped by to get breakfast, and him and my neighbor were sitting over there talking. And I asked the Paul if he had seen the Black Panther lately. You know, he said not in a year or two he hadn't. But the neighbor who was with him said yes, I saw it. I saw it about a year ago, and he says, in fact, he says. I saw I guess it was a UFO, he said. It's something like a black triangle come over the woods out behind my house.
Right.
It came over, and it didn't look that big to start with until it rotated. And it said it's pretty large then.
Yes.
He said, I don't think they make a drone that big. And I said,
No.
was it making any noise? And he said, no. I said, well, if it had been a drone that big, you would have known it.
You'd have heard it. You'd have heard it whir.
Yeah.
I said, you'd have
Yeah.
known what it was.
Oh
But,
yeah,
I'm
those
gonna get with
those
him.
are real.
I'm going to get with him and get a report on that and turn one of those in to move on.
Sure, thank
see
you.
where he
Sure.
saw it at. And
Yeah, and if anybody
Oh, wow.
watching has had any of those experiences, just go to MUFON.com and upload to that because we would appreciate that. Helps us
My
with our
wife has
statistics.
wife has seen at least 3 in her life. One of them was back in the early 80s. I mean, it was a full size, what you'd call the typical description of a flying saucer. It was sitting beside the road, beside the highway and sitting at like a 45-degree angle, and just hovering there. And she watched it for a good while. Of course, this is back before the days of cell phone cameras and all this kind of stuff,
Yes.
You get a good picture of it. But she's seeing a tic-tac, and then she's seeing this real bright, shiny spear in the last year or two, So
Wow.
she keeps me watching the skies. Like it's giving me, it's making my neck hurt. This cryptid UFO deal. I'm looking left to right, up and down.
Yeah, we're in a hot spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. Well, all of America pretty much
Well,
is.
thank
but
you so much for being
Yeah.
on our show tonight.
Thank you so very much.
Well, I
And
have enjoyed it, and y'all be careful if you go to the LBL. Be careful. It's
we
there's a
are
lot of activity
going.
there.
We
Yeah.
are. We're going to take
It's-
security.
Yeah, we're going to have
It has-
cameras.
It
Yeah.
has its own feeling about it. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
We can't
I don't know how
wait.
to
Yeah, we can't
explain
wait
it,
to
but-
get there. It'll be nice and cool this weekend. So we'll keep you
Oh, yeah.
posted, Dewster, and we'll let you know what it's
You-
all about.
You do that. You do that.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
thank you
Thank
again
you
for
so
being
much.
with us tonight.
Oh,
That the
anytime,
time just
anytime.
went
I
so
enjoyed it.
fast.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We did too. And
it did go fast.
yes, it did. I'm telling you. So thank you all for joining us tonight too as well. And stay in touch with us at hauntedparis@usa.com. And
Send us, if you want to be anonymous, you can be anonymous. If you
Uh-huh.
want to come on the show, just reach out to us, let us know.
yes, and keep those emails coming with your experiences. We really do appreciate that. And we will share them here as you saw tonight. So thank you so much. You have a great evening.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.